If I could go back and tell 18-year-old me the shit that 28-year-old me could have done with the amount of money I spent on Taco Bell, I think 20-year-old me or 18-year-old me would cry. Hello internet people, and welcome back to Relish the Random. Can we take a minute to appreciate the awesome shade of green this shit is? Because yes. Today this video is a short video that I just wanted to touch on something not weight loss related, even though right. Anyway. Something not weight loss related. I wanted to go over boring adulty things that I wish I started doing much earlier in my life. My current age is 28. I'm actually about to be 29 in January, so I'm almost 30. So a lot of these things I didn't start doing until at least my mid-20s, if not closer to late 20s to early 30s. I really feel that some of them are going to be like hit and miss for some people, but a lot of them are just general things I think that anybody really could benefit from having done earlier rather than later in their life. Starting with paying more attention to my finances. So when I was in high school, I had like 3 jobs. I don't know what I did with all of that money. I apparently made Taco Bell a whole hell of a lot of money, but I never saved any of it. I could have invested into things that would have turned around and become then a source of income for myself instead of just something that I was paying out at. I could have invested in buying a house. Being almost 30, my husband and I have started saving for things like retirement, and we've started doing things like investing and, you know, investing in ourselves, investing in the company. Investing is actually its whole other subject that I'm going to talk about later. The biggest one is, I don't know why it took me so long to simply sit down and every day one of the first things I do is I open my bank accounts online and I look at my transactions and I make sure there's been no random charges that I don't know about. I make sure that everything's cleared. I make sure that I still have the amount of money that I thought I was going to have after I have spent what I have spent. I make sure that I'm on budget. I make sure nobody's trying to magically take money from me or say that I owe them money, because that happens a lot too. I really now stay on top of that stuff. Like, even if it's like $1, I'm like, who are you and what is this pre-authorization? I have a mortgage now, which is weird, but awesome at the same time, especially because in the area we live in for my husband's work, the rent is not necessarily cheap, but our mortgage is extremely reasonable, which is fantastic. I really wish I would have saved that money again for education. Education is ridiculously expensive, and the last thing anybody wants is to be in debt with a whole bunch of student loans. So I really wish that I would have paid more attention to scholarships and getting good grades, because in all honesty, I really didn't try at all in high school, and now that I'm in college and I'm like, hey, I'm not stupid, I just had other things I was preoccupied with. You know, I can and 100% completely capable of the grades, hence my GPA being as high as it is, and me being able to prove that, but not focusing on that earlier in life has made it extremely difficult for me to get those things now. I had to go through like 3 years of self-study and self-paying 1 class at a time to boost up my GPA high enough to start applying for things like grants and low-interest student loans and scholarships. So that is something I really do also wish that I focused a lot more on earlier in life rather than later in life. Education being a whole one. What I want to do is, I need a bachelor's degree at the very least. It's required. And in all honesty, my complete life goal and or plans, whatever you have it, because I have a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, a 15-year goal, and a 20-year goal, I need a bachelor's degree and I want to obtain my PhD. But Again, those are one of those things where if I had paid more attention when I was just a little bit younger, it would be a lot easier now for me to obtain. So if any of you guys are currently in high school and you're thinking about, well, I'm never gonna need that crap, I, for some reason, thought that too, and I don't know why, because a quick Google would have told me that in order to live in the country that I want to live in and want to work in, you have to have no less than a bachelor's degree. And I should have been more proactive about that when I was younger, because I would have already had my bachelor's degree and had been living in that country for goodness knows how many years. However, you know, I also don't believe in dwelling too much on the past, because I do believe it breeds resentment and bitterness and doesn't allow you to focus on how to improve your future. And something I'm extremely grateful for, having never done that younger, is I would have never gone down the path I did to have met my husband. And my husband is, without a doubt, the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my life. He is the most supportive person, most caring person, and most loving person I have ever met, ever. And he has gone out of his way to make sure that I have everything that I need to achieve my dream, because his goal was owning a home, having a wife, and having a job that he loves, and he's actually currently already achieved life fulfillment. I wish I would have been more proactive about saving up for an emergency fund. I'm a college student, okay? And we don't have enough subscribers to monetize our YouTube channel. We don't necessarily have thousands of extra dollars outside of our regular expenses that our regular jobs pay for. So building an emergency fund has always kind of unfortunately been something that we brushed to the side. Credit is another thing that we're really starting to be proactive on. I've never been terrible with credit, but I've never liked to check my credit regularly. I've never really done anything other than student loans that would ever affect my credit, except for hospital bills. Hospital bills affected, they no longer affect. I was literally like almost $100,000 in debt because while riding my bike one day, I had a seizure and I hit my head on a railroad track because we happened to be crossing the tracks when I had the seizure. That's another thing credit-wise I really wish I would have paid attention to, because I would have done more proactive things as a teenager or even as a young adult to boost my credit, because even though I didn't necessarily ever do anything to make my credit terrible besides get sick, I never did anything to make my credit better either. I just feel that if anybody is currently younger than I am now, this might help you. One of the next biggest things that I really wish that I paid more attention to was my health. So if you've seen any of my other videos, really, you know that I am attempting to lose weight because of my asthma and allergies. I really wish that I would have taken gym class more seriously when I was in school, and then I would have continued to work out after I left school and sports and all of those things. I wish that I never would have allowed myself to get to the point where my asthma now has the control over me that it does. Another thing, kind of fitness wise, I wish that I would have taken the time. My dad loves to cook, and I was in the kitchen with him every night helping him cook dinner. And I paid attention to the physical aspects of cooking, but I never really fell in love with cooking. So I just wish that I would have spent more time cooking and learning healthier recipes and not hating the dishes so much, I guess. The reason investing is a category of all of its own is because it's not just financially that I really wish that I would have focused on investing earlier. As a writer and a freelancer and owning my own company, I wish that I would have invested my time into becoming more knowledgeable about these things that I knew I was going to want to do eventually anyway. I also wish that I would have invested more time in the proper social channels. I spent so much time investing effort and, you know, friendship into people who not only did I know weren't really good for me or for the person who I wanted to become, but also who weren't necessarily very good people to begin with. I wish that I would have invested more of that time instead of hanging out with those stupid people or those people who were doing stupid things, into hanging out with the people who were doing things like studying for tests or trying to get better grades or looking into colleges or learning second languages. I really wish I would have invested in a better, well-rounded education. Life skills is probably the last thing I wish I invested more time in when I was younger, and by things like that I mean like fixing a toilet, doing a budget, changing a tire on the side of the road, knowing how to check all my fluids in my vehicle so that my car doesn't break down or my engine doesn't seize up and suddenly I'm left without a car. You know, all of these tiny little life skill things. I had to learn how to change my oil, I had to learn how to change an alternator, I had to learn how to change a tire, I had to learn how to change a tie rod, I had to learn how to change all of those things because mechanics wanted to charge me several $100s to do any of them besides change the oil, when the parts were literally like less than 100. My tie rod was less than $20 and the mechanic wanted to charge me $300 to take off my tire, unscrew one thing off a pole, screw it back on, and put my tire back on. I know I said this is going to be a short video, but I think I lied. So yeah, those are boring adult things that I wish I started doing and or paying more attention to way earlier. If you are just now like 20 years old, start doing these, I beg of you. If not even all of them, at least start doing the one where you pay attention to your bank account every day, where you look at the money you spend, you look at the money you have, you look at the money that you are getting in, and you look at the offset of your expenses over your income. Just at least start doing that for yourself. Get yourself in the habit of being responsible fiscally. Right, so if you enjoyed this video or any of my other ones, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, you know, if you want to. You don't have to. I don't like to pressure people into that. However, I think I'm funny, you know. If you do too, feel free to stick around. Also, let me know in the comments below what you wish, if you're currently my age, you would have done as a teenager that maybe would have made your adult life slightly easier. Alright, thank you internet people. Remember to relish the random that life provides you. Like the fact that my camera's still working, because it's only November 7th and my cats have already knocked it off of fucking the bookshelf twice. I'm getting really fast at like diving across the room and catching things though, so I mean, there you go. 2 positives. I'm getting better reflexes and my camera's still living. Woo!